Sorry, welcome everybody to the HR. I'll try that one again. Welcome everybody to the HR committee meeting. The microphones are now working and we are recording. So if everyone can use their microphones when they're speaking, as the meeting is being webcast. So I'm just going to start with the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
I have an apology from Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. Right, so now we've got two sets of minutes. Minutes from the meetings held on the 15th of February 2023 and 21st of June 2023. So are members content for me as chairman to sign these minutes? I have watched the 15th of February minutes and can confirm they're accurate. Everybody happy? Can I have a proposer? Thank you, Miriam. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Smith. Can we please have a show of hands to indicate whether you support the motion for me as chairman to sign the minutes of the committees held on the 15th of February 2023 and the 21st of June 2023? All those in favour? Obviously that's everybody, so that's carried. Thank you very much. Moving on, are there any declarations of interest? Okay, no declarations of interest. Good. So so item 4, chairman's announcements. So just a couple of things really. The first is that, as you will have noticed from the papers, that we have adopted a new format of reports, which we'll talk about a bit later, and Emily will introduce those. We'll talk about the rationale for those, and I should say as well, you know, this is the first time we've tried this style of reporting, so we are looking. There's certainly some tweaks that I think need to be made, and we would welcome all of your comments on, you know, what it is you want to see to make them perhaps a little bit more explanatory. Okay, and just, I mean, just one other point of information which you're obviously all aware of. We're at the moment recruiting for a new senior manager in the in HR. So we'll have some more information on that later, in due course. Oh yes, one more thing. There were a couple of items from last time, from the meeting last time, which were the items about Marshgate Bridge and also mental health statistics. And those will be discussed. The Marshgate Bridge issue will be discussed by Peter, and Emily will report on the mental health statistics. Okay, lovely. So let's move on. Now we have, so the next item is the minutes from the Safety Committee meeting held on the 9th of May 2023. These minutes are just for noting and don't require you to vote, but perhaps, Peter, would you like to say anything about these minutes? And if not, would you like to talk about the other issue of the Marshgate Bridge?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Nothing to report really in regards to Safety Committee. Obviously, the chair of that will be changing for the next meeting, which will be taking place next week. In regards to the bridge at Marshgate Drive in Hertford, having spoken with colleagues in the property team, the asset management team, it's been confirmed that the bridge is wholly owned by Dicker Mill Investments in Hertford. We own half of the car park across the bridge, but there's no clear delineation as to how that works. But we do have half of it. In terms of the actual bridge itself, numerous attempts have been made by officers of the council to engage with Dicker Mill Investments, but they've not engaged with us. We've offered on occasion to survey and make repairs. No, had no response. There was an offer at one point in the past to purchase the bridge. That was declined. The former drainage and engineering team approached Dicker Mill Investments and again received no response from them. There was an option of looking at planning and building control at the time to look at dangerous structures, but they were informed as it's not a residential property, it doesn't fall within the criteria. So in terms of ownership, we do not own the bridge. That is Dicker Mill, and we've had no contact. They've had no contact. We've had no contact from them. So we can't do anything really, unfortunately, unless you want to elaborate at all.
Chairman, we have on occasion the county council owned a bridge which goes from across Hartham Common, which was in a dangerous condition. They were responsible for repair. So because we owned the land up to the access to the bridge, I closed the access to the bridge off, which forced the county council to exact repairs. I'm not au fait with this bridge in particular, but the option is if we own the land up to including the bridge, I can close off access to the bridge. However, if it doesn't affect Dicker Mill Investments at all, then the bridge will just remain closed. So I can take a health and safety view with an inspection if it's suitable to if I believe that the bridge is dangerous, then I will close the access to the bridge, but that may not necessarily cause Dicker Mill Investments to repair that bridge.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. No, we don't own the land up to the bridge. That's highways, Hertfordshire Highways, so we don't own that. But the other side of the bridge is half of the car park, but it's not a pay and display car park, so I don't think there's much we can further do. I mean, property could try and or estates could try contacting Dicker Mill Investments again, but I don't think they will have much hope.
Thank you very much. Does that answer people's concerns? I know you were concerned that the bridge might be shut, and it was important that it stayed open. I think that was the concern.
Yes, in addition though to the fact that it was raised that there may be structural issues with the bridge. So can this issue remain on a risk register for monitoring or something?
We could certainly keep an eye on it, but in terms of our responsibility, we have none for it. So if we did notice something, what we could do is inform Dicker Mill, but without doing any form of invasive structural survey, which they won't permit us to do because they haven't engaged with us. A visual inspection is not likely to really show anything because you'll be looking at the internal structure, which a survey would provide. But we've drawn a blank with them. They just don't want to engage with us at all.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments on the Safety Committee minutes? Okay, so if we can, we're not required to vote on those, so we can move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is Human Resources Q1 Statistics 2023-24, pages 41 to 48 on the agenda. So I'm going to hand over to Emily. Thank you very much. And as I said before, we are trialling this new approach to make it a little bit clearer and less weighty in terms of papers to read before the meeting. So thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, as just said, it's a new format, a new dashboard approach. So I'd welcome your feedback on it. Essentially, it outlines what we outlined in all previous quarters and annual reports, the main areas we look at, so absence, turnover, etc. I welcome your feedback on, obviously, and I understand some of it is quite, you won't know unless I explain it. So I know in terms of like headcount is not on there. So just to confirm, the headcount is around 300 employees at the moment. And that's basically what the percentages and FTE are based on. And at the end of the report, it has obviously what we propose to do in the next year and what we've achieved so far in Q1. As Councillor Carter had mentioned previously, you have asked for data relating to staff stress and mental health. So just to confirm, in this quarter, there have been 5 long-term absences related to stress and mental health. 3 have returned back to work. 1 has now retired and 1 is still off. And there have been 3 short-term absences related to stress and mental health. But where they're logged, I can't distinguish between work-related stress or other reasons for stress. And the number of leavers related to stress and mental health is 0. So that's the stats on that. I'll welcome any questions.
Emily, could I just ask, so the number of staff is about 310 individuals. Do you have, could you tell us what the number of full-time equivalent staff is? Because obviously some of those will work part-time.
I can, bear with me while I just find the exact figure for you. So the FTE is 275.07. And that's based on a headcount of 308.
Thank you.
Right, just check that the pages later with the bullet points, is that part of the same reduced reporting?
Yes.
Thank you. I think it's great. I mean, anything that reduces pages of you writing and us reading is good investment and efficiency. I think the dashboard is great. I think over time we'll probably tweak it, add to it, remove whatever. But the whole idea is great. So thank you. Got a couple of points. The first couple, the sickness absence per full-time employee, sorry for asking, but is that days per full-time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps we could specify the
Yeah,
the
I
units.
take it for granted that I know exactly what I'm talking about and other
Yeah.
people don't.
Okay, thank you. And then an almost separate issue really, on the health and safety work-related incidents and near misses, you've got targets of 0. That's a bit disappointing. If we encourage staff to report near misses, we may well reduce the incidence of accidents, because if we investigate a near miss, the chances are we may be able to remove that hazard. Previous employment I've been in do targets of say 1 report per person per year and work out what that is monthly, and then reward people for reporting near misses. So it's a 0 for a target for those who's disappointed. That there should be a number there.
Yeah, it's one of the areas that we want to focus on, is encouraging people to report incidents of near miss. And what we have found in the past are people's reactions and responses to different situations. So some members of staff that deal with extremely difficult customers or people with complex needs tend to manage and cope fairly well. So they don't, if they're subject to a torrent of abuse, they don't let it affect them, because they know it's not a personal attack. Someone's frustrated, someone is angry, so they choose not to report it. And you'll be surprised, you know, when we try to encourage staff to report incidents, near misses, And we're going to do some work around reinforcing that message. We need to know. It's important that we do know, because the long-term effects following an incident, that ties in with the mental health as well. So we've got some work to do around that, to see what we can do to improve and encourage people to report the incidents of near misses.
Just a couple of questions, if I may. In terms of the quarters, they're financial year quarters, aren't they? Just I thought it was, but I couldn't see that. And the second thing is, well, firstly, I think it's great, the format is something that I would be used to looking at information in this way. So personally, I think it's a real step forward. So thank you for that. In terms of the bullet points further on down, obviously I'm not close to any of those bullet points, any of those work streams. So can we have a sort of a sentence explaining what each one is moving forward? Just,
Yeah, of course.
and honestly, don't write paragraphs, but
Literally just a sentence explaining what we mean by each.
yes, I mean, an example might be elections related payroll. So I wouldn't know what that really is.
Right.
So
Okay.
is that fair enough?
Yes, yeah, definitely, I agree with you. I think just a little bit more explanation on that, and it would be also one of the things that also occurred to me was that if, as we discussed, that it'd be quite good to have those bullet points organised in under particular headings such as recruitment, retention, health and safety, etc. Just so that we can see, you know, what's going on under each heading.
Okay. Can I just ask, we used to report on L&D that we delivered in that quarter. It's not actually in this report. I'm not sure if that's something you still want to get them out.
When you say L&D, do you mean learning and
Yeah, learning and development, sorry. Yeah, learning and development in the quarter. So we used to report on what training was delivered corporately in the quarter and what sort of e-learning training has been done in that quarter, but there's nothing in this report. Is that something you want added, or?
I would say that we do, because we want to know how staff are being developed. I don't know what other people think, but yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah, I'll
development
get
is
that.
very much an important part of human resources. Does anyone? Miriam.
Thank you, Chairman. I really like the dashboard style. One thing I would like to see included is maybe some sort of comparative measure so that we know how we're performing against other similar organisations. So that might require a bit more percentage rather than actual numbers, but I just think that would be helpful.
Okay, yeah, we can have a look at getting that added. Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you.
Maura?
Sorry, one of in the bullet points on page 48, it says they're going to identify and contract new occupational health and employee assistance providers. Because they're both out of contract. Can I just check what you've got in place while they're out of contract? Does it continue? Is it rolling? And could we have planned in the looking for new providers before the end of the contract?
Yeah, it's rolling at the moment. It's up for renewal, so it's just rolling with Harlow Occupational Health at the moment. It is getting looked at, but I don't have a time frame of when that will be in place. But there is something in place at present. Yeah.
Thank you.
The employee assistance program has been awarded through the Eastern Shires Purchasing Organisation framework to Vita, our current EAP provider. And we are in the process, or Claire's in the process, she's off sick at the moment having an operation, but she's in the process of going through the occupational health providers on the same ESPO framework, because the framework has two lots. One is EAP, the other is occupational health. So that is in train with Claire, and I'm assisting Claire in that procurement.
Thank you very much. Are there any more points or questions on the dashboard? Okay. Good. So let's see. So our recommendations are to consider the human resources management statistics for Q1, April to June 2023, which we've done. To agree the move to a dashboard approach for HR statistics with exception reporting only. Could you just explain what you mean by exception reporting?
Where there's something above, so if we recorded sickness was really high, we had explained why it was so high. At the moment, they're just numbers, but if something was extremely high, extremely low, we just explain why that is, so you have a bit of an understanding on why it's gone so wrong or gone so bad.
Thank you. And to agree that non-staff health and safety issues are reported through safety committee meeting with minutes being sent to the HR committee. So those are the three recommendations. Can I ask for, if we're all happy with those, can I ask for someone to propose those? Thank you, Councillor Hollobom, and then somebody to second. Thank you, Councillor Connolly. And can we have a show of hands to indicate whether you support the motion? So all those in favour? That's everybody. Great. Okay, so that's carried. One other point I was just going to say was that the other bit of background information which I thought would be useful for everybody to have, in addition to just the basic numbers of staff, is an organisational chart. Emily, you could just give us an update on where we are with that.
So we have one populated org chart on Visio. We're just waiting for the full license, as we can't do anything with the license we have, as it's got a limit and we can't sort of finish it off at the moment. So when IT give us the full license, we'll be able to send it over to you.
Thank you. So you should have that hopefully fairly soon. Okay, so we're moving on to the equalities report, pages 49 to 86. Over to you, Emily, to introduce it.
Thank you, Chair. So this report was written by my colleague who cannot attend today. So it's the annual report on the protected equalities characteristics against our East Arts Council workforce profile. It goes through sort of each step by step, outlining the difference between our population at East Arts compared to our staff and our employee profile overall in terms of recruitment, leavers, disciplinary and grievance and training. Rather than sort of going through it all, has anybody got any questions on each of the points?
Maura. It's not a question, it's just that on page 78, it refers to a Human Resources Committee June 22, but it's talking about data turnover for 22 to 23. So I think it might be a typo.
Okay, yeah, I'll get that changed. Thank you.
Any other comments? I just had one comment on page 59. Where one of the action plans is to work with the Shaw Trust to advertise jobs with them to attract more disabled applicants. The comment there is that we want to investigate the ways in which we can collaborate, but it needs to be in proportion with the size of our organisation and the transformation programme, which I'm sure that's right. But I would like to I would like to have a kind of positive approach to people with disabilities. So I just encourage that action to be sort of carried out, if you like. The other sort of point I was going to make was that it would be maybe helpful for us to see how, I've discussed this with you, about see what progress we're making in the transformation programme on HR issues. So
How did you prefer that to be sort of laid out in the report, where we are with the transformation programme and HR support within the streams? What sort of layout do you think would be best?
does anyone have any views on that? I think it would be helpful to know what the objectives are for staff for HR in the transformation programme, and how close we are to, where we are at achieving those.
Okay, yeah, I can get that added for next quarter.
Thank you. Councillor Dumont.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to come back on your comments with the Shore Trust. As you know, I previously sat on this committee, and there was a number of times that I raised that this was in our work programme and it hasn't happened, or and it's still outstanding now. So I think coming to this meeting has been helpful, and it's something I'm going to take away and speak to officers to see what, to actually see if we can push this forward now, because it's been sitting on this document maybe for a number of months. And this isn't the first time it's been raised in this committee that this is one of our objectives that hasn't been followed through. So it's good that you've raised that, and it's reminded me that now I'm going to take that away and try and push that forward.
Thank you very much for that. That's great. Okay. Miriam.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a similar comment on this report, really, in that, so for example, on page 55, it talks about employees with a disability compared to the number of East Herts residents with a disability. Now, I have no idea, looking at that, whether that is a normal level of difference, if you know what I mean, compared to other organisations, or do you see what I mean? Because it says 5% have a disability, but residents have 13.6. If that's normal in other workplaces, that's fine. If we're way higher than normal, not fine. So it's that comparative stuff.
So would you like comparison added into the future, like next
Yes,
year's
please.
annual quality report?
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
lovely.
Vicky.
Thank you, Chair. I was just noting that so the report speaks quite specifically about the protected characteristics, but on page 68, I believe, sorry, bear with me, page 68, there's a reference to not monitoring people who've changed gender. So if we're not monitoring that, how are we ensuring that those people are not being discriminated against, given that that is a protected characteristic? So it's the middle of page 68. It says council does not monitor separately.
I'm not entirely sure, as I haven't written this report. I'm not sure about how the monitoring works, but I can take that back and get a response to you over email once I've spoken to my colleague who wrote the report.
Thank you. That would be good to know. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the equalities report? Right, okay, so are we happy to go forward to the recommendations? A is, so the recommendations are as follows. The annual equalities report 2022/2023 been noted, and the recommendations set out in the 2023-24 action plan are considered and approved. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Hollobin, and a seconder, Councillor Swainton. Thank you very much. Can we have a show of hands to indicate whether you support the motion? All those in favour? Is everybody So that's carried. Thank you very much. Urgent business, there are no urgent items, and so that concludes tonight's meeting. Before I say what time it is, thank you very much indeed. I'd just like to say thank you very much to all the officers for attending and for all their work on not just work that we can see in front of us, but all the work in the background as well. It's what keeps the place running. And thank you very much to Councillor Dumont for being here as well. Right, so that does conclude tonight's meeting at 7:30.